ॐ नारायणः परो व्यक्तात् अण्डमव्ययसम्भवम् अण्डस्यान्तस्त्विमे लोकाः सप्तद्वीपा च मेदिनी ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. We are in the third verse of the third chapter, and there has been a little bit of a gap. So, just summarizing what we have been studying would be a good thing. So, concluding the second verse, Bhashya, the second verse, of course, what does Arjuna say? Vyamishreneva vakyena buddhim mohayasi iva me tadekam vada nishchitya yena shreyah aham apnuyam. I am all over the place, says Arjuna. You have given me two choices, but these choices are not doing anything to clarify my position, to clarify what is it that I have to do. Should I do karma, or should I take a life of knowledge? Should I take to a life of knowledge, jnanam? And since the two are not cannot be performed together at a life of karma and a life of knowledge cannot be taken resorted to by the same person at the same time. Ekam vada nishchitya. Tell me one thing that I can follow. Don't confuse me by giving me these options, because we are in the middle of a battle and I need to know if I just need to wind up and get into ochre robes and start studying, or if I should abandon the idea of study and fight this war, continue to fight this war. You see, the human mind is very categorical. It does not have the, generally speaking, unless it is trained to do so, it does not have the flexibility to see what the Lord is saying here. And it doesn't have, Arjuna also is looking at things from an either or perspective. He is not thinking, you know what, maybe there is one is the means and other is the end. Karma yoga is the means and jnanam is the end. He is unable to see that. Why? Because, not because he is not intelligent, but because the mind is not prepared. Why is not the mind prepared to understand what Bhagavan is saying here? Very simple. It would seem Karma Yoga, a life of preparation, dedicating one's action to Bhagavan and focusing on emotional maturity, taking what comes as prasada, is a preparation for this Atmajnanam. Why is it so difficult to understand? It is difficult to understand because of one's raga dveshas. The raga and dvesha become a block to this knowledge. How? Arjuna has dvesha for the war and a raga to get out of the war. And that, so therefore, he skews everything the Lord says only through these two apertures of raga and dvesha. Dvesha for the war, and raga to not fight, and the raga to just be, and if this is what constitutes him to be a student and a student alone, this is a ticket to not fighting. He will still take it even after 2 chapters. And so we saw that. And then we also saw that then he says, what should I do? and the knowledge cannot be followed by all these people. So what should I do? He asks in the second verse. And then the Lord's response is the third verse. What is the third verse? Loke asmin dvividha nishtha pura prokta maya he anagha. Oh, the one without papa, the one who is pure hearted. In this world, there are two nishthas, means a committed lifestyle here. The word nishtha has the sense of abidance and a sense of commitment. So here it is to be used in the sense of commitment. Two committed lifestyle have been talked about. Jnana yogena sankhyanam. So the path for the sannyasis, sankhya sannyasinam, we saw this in the second chapter. Jnana yogena, by knowledge itself, and by karma yogas, by karma yoga for the yogis, for the people who are still striving to get antahkarana shuddhi. What is antahkarana shuddhi? A kind of a purity of in the heart, and where the raga dveshas do not trouble the person. And then, so what is these two nishthas? What are these two lifestyles? This is what is being talked now. So, Bhashya, so the second paragraph of the Bhashya, first paragraph we have already seen. Jnana yogena, jnanam eva yoga. He tells us how to split the word, the compound jnana yoga. Jnana yogena, jnana evam yoga, tena. The knowledge itself is yoga. And what is yoga here? Yoga is in the sense of that which is to be attained. The knowledge itself is a lifestyle. Jnana yoga. Tena, by this sankhyanam. And he explains the word sankhya very well. Sankhyanam, for the sankhyas. Who are these sankhyas? Atma, anatma, vishaya viveka jnanavatam. So the people who have the discernment between Atma and Anatma, who have the knowledge of the discernment. They may not yet have the knowledge of Atma, but they have the knowledge of discernment. What is Atma? What is Anatma? And what is and one may say, big deal. What's the difference between Atma and Anatma? Even I know. Why should I not be a sannyasi in the sense of how the Lord is using that word? Well, here it's not Atma and Anatma knowledge per se, but the what is Atma? Atma is myself. And what is this myself? Unlike anything else in the universe. And what is this I? The I is Atma, which is the truth of the whole universe, whose nature is Satchidanandam Brahma, as opposed to Anatma, which is finite, which is not limitless, which is time bound, which is in the state of in the which is attainable as object, whereas Atma is attainable, is attained as the nature, as the content, as the truth of the subject. That is what I want, because going after objects is going to lead me into trouble. And how do I know? From plenty of past experiences I know. So these are the people who have this viveka. How do they have it? Because they have led a disciplined lifestyle and they haven't even gone forth in the world to experiment with this, that, or the other, because they have not been drawn into the world at all to experience various ashramas like grihastha like the householder life. They haven't been tempted to go anywhere because they have already done some pariksha. They have done a kind of an analysis and known that no matter where I go, no matter what I gain, regardless of whether I get married or have a house or have children, I'm back to the same dead end. So therefore, what have these people done? These Atma Anatma Vishaya Jnanavan, So this person, what has the person done? Brahmacharya ashramad eva krita sannyasana. So such people have resorted to renouncing the world after brahmacharya itself. So the Shruti gives an option. What is the option here? Shruti gives two options. The Shruti gives the option of going to the going to sannyasa after brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means after being a student. You become a student and then after that go straight away to sannyasa. If the mind is prepared. There is one option. Or the other option is you come to sannyasa after enjoying a life of grihasthashrama, vanaprasthashrama, etc. You slowly get ready, you slowly prepare for sannyasa ashrama and take the sannyasa ashrama, get ready for sannyasa ashrama at the end of one's life. At the end of one's life, you get ready for this. So these are the two options. But these people who are these people? They are already ready. They are already ready by letting go of the desire to experience marriage, children, job, building a house, and so many other goals in life, promotions, etc., hobbies, everything they are able to let go of even without experiencing them. Why? Because they have Atma Anatma Jnanam, because they don't need to experience all these things in order to know about how finite and how useless these pursuits are. So the Arthakama pursuits, even without pursuing much of them, they know the finite, they know the limitations, they know the finitude. Hence what? Hence they are able to let go of them and happily choose a life of sannyasa. Why? In order to study. And so having chosen a life of sannyasa and studied, what happens to them? Bhashya, Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitarthanam, for whom the Vedanta Vijnana, the direct knowledge of Vedanta, which yields the understanding, I am Ishvara, I am non-separate from Ishvara, I am this Brahman, which is Jagat Karanam, which is the cause of the universe. So this is Sunishchita. Sunishchita means nicely ascertained, well ascertained. So Vedanta Vijnana Artha, the meaning of the Vedanta, the purport of all the Vedanta Shastra has been well ascertained by whom, by which monks, by which sannyasis. For them, this lifestyle, they are called Jnana Yogis. So this lifestyle of Jnana Yogas has been advocated for such people. So the bar is very high and he is not yet done with it. So let's see how he qualifies that. So the one who is a proponent of Jnana Yoga, according to Adi Shankara, first, the one who has taken to a life of renunciation after brahmacharya itself, because highly emotionally and spiritually evolved, mature, emotionally matured, and so such a person who has been able to renounce everything without experiencing much of the world, and then does not harbor any resentment. Oh, I just took to a life of sannyasa when I was not ready. No such thing. They were ready. And then such people who have ascertained for themselves after study with the Guru, etc., Vedanta Vijnana. Vedanta Vijnana Artha. The meaning, the purport, the Tatparya of Vedanta Shastra has been well ascertained by whom and who. That's the second one. And the third one, Paramahamsa Parivrajakaana. Paramahamsa means the people who have no homes. They don't have homes not because they cannot afford them, but they have no homes because they see they see that having a house is of no use from the standpoint of what they are interested in and what their abidance is in, which is the truth of their own nature. They have a home actually, but the name of the home is Om. Om is their home, and their heart is resounding with the Om chanted all the time, whose meaning is again well ascertained as Ishvara and as consciousness. And so they are parivrajakas, means they go from place to place. As and when they need to travel, they travel. They don't say, oh, who's going to pay the bills? How? I really love my house and I want to stay here. No such thing. Paramahamsa. So the Hamsa is, two meanings. Saha, aham saha. Actually, it is aham saha. I am this Ishvara alone, aham saha. But then that goes away, is elided, and it becomes hamsaha, hamsa. So, but here the another meaning is also offered for the word hamsa. Hamsa is some kind of a celestial swan, some kind of a celestial swan, a mythical bird which is able to, which drinks milk apparently. And then let's say you try to test it by mixing the milk with 25% water. It has the ability to siphon off the milk with its beak and leave the water alone. And so similarly, the one who is called Hamsa or Paramahamsa, again a gradation there. Paramahamsa is yogi, sannyasi. He is the one who is able to sift between Atma and Anatma and leave Anatma alone, leave all the objects of the universe aside and take only Satchidanandam Brahma, siphon off the Satchidanandam Brahma and spit out the Nama Rupa. Such people alone, for such people, Brahmani eva avasthitanam. The fourth qualification, those whose abidance is only in Brahman all the time, because the world has nothing to offer them. They are not at all, not in the least bit interested in the world, and what it has to offer them, they are not interested at all. And so for such people, this nishtha is talked about. What is the nishtha? Jnana yoga. So let us review this. So many qualifications for the person to be considered a jnana yogi, for the person to choose knowledge above everything else. One has to have from childhood a viveka between Atma and Anatma, and a corresponding Vairagya as well, because Viveka brings in Vairagya. Vairagya means a dispassion towards all the things that are finite. Viveka means the Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka, the discernment between what is Nitya and what is Anitya, what is permanent, what is temporary, and then the ability to let go of that which is temporary from childhood itself, the one who knows, and from the studenthood one takes to a life of sannyasa, having gained the knowledge and well ascertained the Vedantic knowledge, the meaning of the purport of the Vedas. Such a person who is homeless, possessionless, but yet the richest person of all, because one is happy and contented with oneself, even though one doesn't have a place to stay or a lot of money. The person is happy moving around as the need arises. And the person, why is the person happy? Brahmani eva avasthitanam. So then fourth qualification, the person is having abidance in Brahman. For them, Jnana Yoga is been advocated. Bhashya, Karma Yogena, and he explains Karma Yoga. Karma eva yoga tena Karma Yogena yoginam karma nishtha prokta. The other possibility is karma yoga, and the action itself becomes a means. So the action becomes a means for what? Not knowledge directly. The action becomes an indirect means for knowledge by giving the necessary preparation. What kind of preparation? Mental preparation freedom from ragadveshas, and a little renunciation from the same old, same old, same old. And then Adi Shankara raises two possibilities and dismisses them. So, first possibility, he says, Bhashya, yadi cha ekena purushena ekasmai purusharthaya jnanam karma cha samuchitya anushteyam bhagavata ishtam. So, suppose, yadi, if, suppose, ekena purushena ekasmai purusharthaya. So, is ekena purushena, by one person, ekasmai purusharthaya. So for one particular purushartha, what is the purushartha here? Moksha, of course. So by one person, for this striving for moksha, jnanam karmacha samuchitya anushteyam bhagavata ishtam uktam vaksyamanam va. So let us suppose that by the Lord Bhagavata Ishtam, it was intended. What was intended? That a person should mix up jnanam and karma together. They should do together. Knowledge and action should be conjointly practiced by one and the same person for one and the same end. If that was the Lord's intention, where in Gita Suva Vedeshu, either in the Veda or in the Gita, if that was the Lord's intention, then Katham iha Arjunaya upasannaya priyaya vishishta bhinna purushakartrike eva jnana karma nishthe bruyat. So if that was the Lord's intention, that both have to be accomplished, both have to be done by the same person, what is the two? Action and knowledge. Because you see, in Adi Shankara's time, there were all these people who had the who had who were advocates of little bit of jnana, little bit of karma. This is what they were advocating all the time. And so this is a stark departure from that. And so here, by the same person, the two are not accomplishable. That is the idea, because jnana and karma are not going to give the same result. What kind of result does action give? Antahkarana shuddhi, preparation. And what kind of result does the what kind of result does knowledge gives? Fulfillment. Action cannot give fulfillment. In fact, action leaves one unfulfilled unless and until one makes action into yoga and makes it a means to qualify for the knowledge which gives fulfillment, which gives total contentment and complete fulfillment. So if it was the Lord's intention in the Veda or in Vedanta or in the Gita to advocate that little bit of karma and little bit of jnanam should be conjointly practiced by one person at the same time, how on earth, Katham, how is it that for this Arjunaya, who is this Arjuna? Upasannaya, the one who has come to him with such a, with such a Shraddha, who has approached him to be the teacher with such Shraddha, Priyaya, who was a dear disciple to Lord Krishna. Vishishta bhinna purushakartrike eva jnana karmanishthe bruyat. Then why does the Lord present two different paths, knowledge and action, for two distinct categories of people? How come the Lord does that? This is one question. And so this is to dispel. It's a rhetorical question, meaning the Lord will not do that to a dear disciple, confuse him by saying that, oh, both these have to be, if that was the truth, they would, the Lord would have said, little bit of jnana and karma, together you can get moksha. And if he was a dear disciple, the Lord would have definitely said that. But the Lord does not say that to Arjuna. The Lord does not say that in the Veda either. And so that is not a, so that means what? Jnana karma samuchaya. the conjoint practice of jnanam and karma at the same time for the same goal is not intended to be the purport of Vedanta as taught by Lord Krishna. Now, that is on the one hand. On the other hand, he says that Yadi Punaha, on the other hand, Arjuna Jnanam Karmacha Dvayam Shrutva, having heard from the Lord both about knowledge and action, स्वयं एव अनुष्ठास्यति अन्येषां तु भिन्नपुरुष अनुष्ठेयतां वक्ष्यामि इति मतं भगवतः कल्प्येत. So if on the other hand we imagine kalpyeta, if on the other hand it is imagined that Arjuna, after hearing about both knowledge and karma, should follow both at the same time, and the others will be taught by the Lord that both these are to be followed by different categories of people, then also it does not work. Because there is one advice for Arjuna and another advice for other people. That means what? The Lord becomes full of raga dvesha, has raga for Arjuna and teaches him one thing, that you mix up action and knowledge, and the other people, okay, those are two different categories. This absolutely does not work. And then further he says, Bhashya, tada ragadveshavan apramana bhutah bhagavan kalpita syat. Then Bhagavan will become like all of us. What? Ragadveshavan. Ragadveshavan means full of raga, full of dvesha Bhagavan becomes. Just like all of us, all of the jivas in the world. Then apramana bhutah syat, meaning the Lord does not have the status anymore of being a means of knowledge. The Lord does not have the status of being a pramana anymore. He is not a means of knowledge, cannot be a means of knowledge. Why? Because a means of knowledge has to be apaurusheya. Apaurusheya means having nothing to do with the Purusha. Purusha means a human being. A human being cannot be an authority simply because the human being has the opinions of the human being are vitiated by raga and dvesha. Therefore, we take that this knowledge has come from Bhagavan. Veda, Vedanta, Bhagavad Gita has been directly spoken by Bhagavan. We take it like that. And why do we take it like that? We take it like that so that it is infallible. We are getting revealed knowledge that is infallible. And so here, if it is infallible knowledge, then suddenly we find that the Lord is giving one advice to somebody like Arjuna, asking him to mix up jnana and karma, and another advice to somebody else. Then that means what? The authority of the status of pramana given to the Lord is no longer valid, is invalid. So the Lord becomes like every other human being, full of raga and dveshas. And then tatcha ayuktam. This is irrational. This cannot stand. So then the question is asked, so then the conclusion is come to, tasmat kaya api yuktya na samuchchayah jnana karmanoho. In whichever, by no kaya api yuktya, by no logic whatsoever, there can be a conjunction of knowledge and action. Action gives results of action, and then those results of action accrue further action, because those results of action can be pleasant or unpleasant. And if they are pleasant, then I want them to continue. If they are unpleasant, I want to get rid of them. And in either case, I initiate more action. Whereas knowledge is the cessation of all action, because knowing that I am a fulfilled person without needing action, then there is nothing to pursue whatever. And whatever pursuits I have, I pursue happily rather than pursuing something for the sake of happiness. There's a big difference. I may not sit idly. The person of Atma Jnana may not sit idly, will continue to pursue. I mean, look at Pujya Swamiji. How many things he did. How many things he accomplished. He was not sitting quietly even for a second. He was doing a lot of good things for the whole universe, and that is because he was pursuing everything that he did, whether it was Acharya Sabha, whether it was the global religious conferences, all of them he was pursuing happily rather than pursuing to be happy. There's a very big difference. And so, this logic of mixing action and knowledge is like mixing oil and water. The two will never combine, even in a salad dressing. So, this is the idea. Then, further, Bhashya, यदि अर्जुनेन उक्तं कर्मणः ज्यायः त्वं बुद्धेः तत् च स्थितम् अनिराकरणात् यद not yadi, sorry, let me read that again. Yad arjunena uktam karmanah jyayah tvam buddhehe tat cha sthitam anirakaranat. Furthermore, one more reason is given why this is not a this is not an advocacy by the Lord for action and knowledge to be combined, because he says what is spoken by Arjuna in referring to the superiority of knowledge to action is correct, because Arjuna says jayasi chet karmanah te. If you think the knowledge is superior to action, this is how he says in verse number 2, and this is the response. And the Lord does not correct him. The Lord does not say, no, 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 knowledge is not superior to action. Both are equally superior. He does not say. There is no denial. Anirakaranat. Because there is no denial, then that means what? The original statement stands. What is the original statement? Loke asmin dvividha nishtha. Two kinds of lifestyles have been proclaimed. And then, concluding the Bhashya, he says that, what does he say? Tasyaha cha jnananishtayaha sannyasinam eva anushteyatvam bhinna purusha anushteyatva vachanat cha bhagavatah evameva anumatam iti gamyate. So, tasyaha cha, tasyaha means kasyaha jnananishtayaha. So, for these two paths, because these two paths, which are intended for sannyasis, as these two paths are intended for two categories of people, who are what? Who are sannyasis and karma yogis, and as jnananishtayaha cha sannyasinam eva anushteyatvam, and since the adherents of the path of knowledge are sannyasis alone, this is what we see. Evam eva anumatam iti gamyate bhagavatah. So this is the intention of the Lord. The intention of the Lord is to understand, see that knowledge which takes away all papa punya, takes away the sense of guilt and hurt, liberates one from sorrow, liberates one from fear, liberates one from samsara totally. Since that is the effect of knowledge, the path of knowledge is of course superior. The path of knowledge is also difficult if one is not prepared. So the path of preparation, karma yoga, the path of knowledge, jnana yoga, and there is no way the two can be combined, because the two do not lead to the same goal. And then, so then the next verse. What is the next verse? न कर्मणामनारम्भात् नैष्कर्म्यं पुरुषोऽश्नुते न च सन्न्यसनादेव सिद्धिं समधिगच्छति. कर्मणाम् अनारम्भात् न, कर्मणाम्, of the actions, anarambhat, by not performing actions. Karmanam anarambhat naishkarmyam purushah na ashnute. The person does not attain naishkarmya. Naishkarmya means nishkarmanah bhavah. So the freedom from action is called naishkarmya. Freedom from action means what? Freedom from the pressure to perform action. Naishkarmyam means jnana siddhi. Naishkarmyam means the one who has the knowledge that I am already liberated without the need for all kinds of without the need for atma jnanam, etc. Sorry, without the need for karma. By Atma Jnanam, I am already liberated. So, this Naishkarmya Siddhi, there is a work also by the name of Naishkarmya Siddhi written by Sureshwaracharya. So, this Naishkarmya Siddhi is not attained. How is it not attained? It is not attained by not performing actions. Because, and we'll see the reason why it is not attained, but simply, one trains oneself to not perform action, then it is not that one has attained moksha. One can train oneself. Sit down in one place, or better still, go to bed and just sleep the whole day and whole night. Am I a mukta purusha? Am I a liberated being? Not necessarily. Because there could be a lot going on here and a lot going on in the mind, in the heart. There could be stored unfulfillment, sources of unfulfillment stored in the mind, stored in the unconscious. There could be lots of ambitions that have not been given expression. There could be pain, there could be sorrow, there could be a combination of all of them. So just by training oneself to refrain from action, one does not become a sannyasi. One does not gain atma jnanam either. And then nacha sanyasanad eva, or the other possibility is I take up sannyasa, I take up a lifestyle of sannyasa here, and then I say I have moksha. Not necessarily. Just the lifestyle of sannyasa does not give moksha, and mere renunciation of action it does not give moksha, and not doing action also does not give moksha. What gives moksha is the knowledge that the Atma is free from kartritvam and bhoktritvam. The Atma is neither the doer nor done in by the actions. I am a free being. That knowledge alone, the internalization of that knowledge alone gives freedom, gives moksha. And so this is the meaning of the verse. And then introducing this verse, Bhagavan gives a little Sangati Bhashya. What does he say? He gives a reasoning why this verse is there in the Bhagavad Gita. Very beautiful reasoning. Bhashya. मां च बन्धकारणे कर्मणि एव नियोजयसि इति विषण्णमनसम् अर्जुनं कर्म न आरभे इति एवं मन्वानम् आलक्ष्य आह भगवान्. Two reasons he gives why this verse has been started in the Bhagavad Gita, why the fourth verse is there. So, मां च बंधकारणे कर्मणि एव नियोजयसि इति विषण्णमनसम् अर्जुनम्. Finding Arjuna in a state of affliction, vishannamanasam, the one whose mind is afflicted, one whose heart is afflicted. So finding Arjuna in a state of mental dire mental affliction. And what is the affliction? Because of this what is the affliction? Not wanting to kill the dear and near ones who have decided to be on the opposite side of the battlefield. That is the affliction. So because of the force of this affliction, may not Arjuna think what? That you are putting me in a difficult karma. This karma is going to produce nothing but bondage. Bandhakarane karmani eva niyojayasi. Niyojayasi, you have arranged it so that I fight this war. Niyojayasi, you have made an arrangement. You have urged me to do this thing, do this karma, which is going to cause only bondage, because I have to kill scores of people, hundreds of people I have to kill, and because of that I'll have papa and I'll have endless lives. And the person, Arjuna here, is despondent, afflicted. And then, so then what will Arjuna think? Karmana arabhe. He will come to the conclusion, I'm not going to, better to not start this fight. Because if I refrain from action, maybe I will be okay. Evam manmanam alakshya aha bhagavan. Reading Arjuna's mind, as it were, the Lord says, what? Na karmana manarambhat, the fourth verse. Naishkarmyam purushoshnute, nacha sanyasana deva, siddhim samadhi gacchati. So, seeing Arjuna's state of mind and thinking that Arjuna might conclude that I can refrain from action in order to avoid bondage, this is why this fourth verse is spoken. One reason he gives. And then another reason he gives, athava, or jnana karma nishthayoho paraspara virodhat ekena purushena युगपत् अनुष्ठातुम् अशक्यत्वे सति इतरेतर अनपेक्षयोः एव पुरुषार्थहेतुत्वे प्राप्ते. So, purushartha prapte. So, what happens is that he says, to speak in any other way is not possible for the Lord. Why? Because the path of knowledge, jnana, and then the path of action are jnana karma nishtha. These two paths are paraspara virodhat. They are, since they are mutually opposed, because they are mutually opposed, and therefore what? Ekena purushena yugapat anushtatam ashakyatve sati. And since it is impossible for one and the same person to follow both at the same time, it is impossible. And therefore, ashakyatve sati itaretara anapekshayoho, meaning anapeksha means non-dependency. Apeksha, dependency. Itaretara, each one is not depending. So one might come to the conclusion that each one, without depending on the other, as an independent way, comes to the same purushartha, serves as a means to moksha. Eva purusharthatva hetutve prapte. So then, if this verse wasn't told, one might go away with the feeling, since these two paths are opposed to each other and cannot be followed by the same person at the same time, perhaps each one is independent of the other and both of them lead to moksha. There is a pervasive, even now, there is a pervasive problem, there is a pervasive myth in the contemporary Vedanta also. Many paths. You can, you can do Karma Yoga, you can do Jnana Yoga, you can do Raja Yoga, you can do Hatha Yoga, you can do Bhoga, anything you do, Bhoga Yoga, you can do, and then you can somehow get moksha. This is not a possibility, because we have to understand what moksha is. Moksha has nothing to do with action. Moksha means letting go of this feeling that I am an actor, I am bound. So it has nothing. It's an ignorance. It's the product of self-ignorance. This feeling that I am bound, letting go of the notion of bondage, cannot be through any other means than knowledge. No matter, see, supposing if I have my glasses, I forgot and put them over there, and then I forgot about them. Then I'm looking because I want to read something. I'm keeping on looking for them. So no amount of action will help. I can stand on one leg and pray to Bhagavan. I can go on a hike. I can go, I can go shopping. I can go do some parayana, reading something. I can do pranayama. I can do so many things. That's not going to, I can take a dip in the Ganga, but that is not going to give my glasses back. It is solely a product of knowledge. Getting the glasses back is contingent upon my knowing that I am already the possessor of the glasses, but I do not know that I am the possessor of glasses. So once I am told, oh, they are on your head, oh, thank you very much. And so then I become so I'm already the possessor of the glasses. The possessor of the eyeglasses becomes, as it were, the possessor of eyeglasses, so to speak. The eyeglasses were separated from me, not because I stopped owning them, but because I was separated from them by ignorance. Similarly, moksha is already my nature. No amount of action is needed to reach moksha. It cannot make me reach moksha. I have to understand that I am already free and liberated. What is keeping me away from moksha is what? Atma Jnanam. I do not know that I am free. So here the mistake can be made by the people, say, and Adi Shankara was very astute even in that time, thinking that Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga can independently, since they are not, have nothing to do with one another, a person can think they can independently lead one to moksha. This is what they can think. And so therefore, as a deterrent, this verse is spoken. And what is there? And one more sentence is there. Karma nishthayaha jnana nishtha prapti hetutvena purushartha hetutvam na swatantriyena. Makes it very clear. So the two are not equal and different paths. The path of karma yoga is instrumental in preparing one for the path of knowledge, and not independently. Karma yoga is extremely important. How? As a preparation for knowledge. Not independently, it cannot. Directly, it cannot lead you to knowledge for the reasons that we have talked about. It serves as a preparation. It serves as a preparation. Na swatantrena, not independently. And then Jnana Nishtha tu, whereas, however, Jnana Nishtha, this lifestyle called Jnanam, Atma Jnanam, a lifestyle a committed lifestyle for self-knowledge, Karma Nishtha Upaya, Upaya Labdha, कर्मनिष्ठ उपाय लब्धात्मिका सती स्वातंत्रेण पुरुषार्थ हेतुः अन्यान् अन्यान् अपेक्षा इति एतम् अर्थं प्रदर्शयिष्यन् आह भगवान्. Whereas the path of knowledge, kevala jnanam, only following knowledge, what does it do? The action is just a means for preparation. Knowledge takes you independently. The path of knowledge takes you to moksha, takes you to understand that you are already free of sorrow and pain independently. It does not rely on anything else, if provided, of course, one is prepared. So sometimes the person may need karma yoga, but the possibility of not needing karma yoga is also there. So they are neither. The karma yoga is an indirect means. After following karma yoga, you do need jnanam. You do need to pursue Atma Jnanam, but pursuing Atma Jnanam, you don't need to do Karma Yoga. And therefore, this verse is begun. And then the Bhashya for this verse, Na Karmanam Anarambhat. Karmanam Anarambhat means by the not by the non-performance of duties. So if you stop doing your duty, you are not going to get moksha. Just because you stop doing the duty. Why? Because you can stop doing what you have to do for many reasons. Mainly ragadvesha. Mainly for the sake of ragadvesha, you can stop doing the duty. Na karmanam anarambhat. And then he says, aprarambhat karmanam kriyanam yajnadinam iha janmani janmantare va anushtitanam upatta durita kshaya hetutvena sattva shuddhi karananam तत्कारणत्वेन च ज्ञान उत्पत्तिद्वारेण ज्ञाननिष्ठा हेतूनां it's getting very long. Let's stop here. So, na karmanam anarambhat means aprarambhat karmanam kriyanam yajnadinam iha janmani janmantareva anushtitanam. So, rites like yajna and etc. Yajna means puja and all these things. Dana, yajna, etc. They are called karma. By the performance of karma in this life or the previous life, so then what happens? The papa arising from the past deeds gets destroyed. Upatta duritakshaya hetutvena sattva shuddhi karana. Sattva Shuddhi Karanam is therefore by the destruction of the Durita. Durita Kshaya means the destruction of all the papas collected through wrong karma. When in this life, Asmin Janmani, Iha Janmani, or Janmantareva, or in previous lives, what happens? So the papas collected and arising from the deeds get destroyed if karma yoga is followed. They get destroyed. And then therefore karma yoga becomes instrumental as a doorway sattva shuddhi karananam tat karanatvena cha. So jnanotpatti dwarena. So thus it becomes instrumental in becoming a doorway for sattva shuddhi, emotional growth, mental purity, freedom from raga and dvesha. So one grows up as a result of these karmas. The karmas are not designed to give knowledge directly and to give freedom from knowledge directly. The karmas are very, very important because they give freedom from raga dveshas. They give a purity of mind where the resentment, the jealousy, the pain, the anger, sorrow all just go down because one finds a sense of fulfillment. Sattva increases, rajas and tamas go down because I have offered the duty, I have offered it as a duty to Bhagavan. So I have offered the duty as a offering to Bhagavan, and so I am no longer attached to it as a doer, and then I'm not expecting any result other than whatever is given by Bhagavan. I gladly take it as prasada. Therefore there is emotional growth, spiritual growth and maturity, and so therefore the karmas become instrumental in acquiring this purity, and then what happens? So tat karanatvena, because of this purity, the gain of the purity, jnana utpatti dvarena, this purity of mind causes the knowledge to assimilate easily. Jnana nishtha hetu it becomes. Jnana nishtha hetu it becomes means, so the purity of mind allows the knowledge to sit in the heart. It leads to me gaining the knowledge. And then he quotes from the Mahabharata, Shanti Parva, Jnanam utpadyate pumsam kshayat papasya karmanaha. So the rise of knowledge takes place when all the papas come down. This is what is said in the Mahabharata. Ityadi smaranat. So according to these smritis, anarambhat anushtanat. So he says that since this knowledge is very much dependent upon a mental adhikaritvam, emotional growth, and an adhikaritvam, a certain qualification, meaning the person is needs to be have a certain maturity. Since that is there, naishkarmyam, nishkarma bhavam, karma shunyata, jnana yogena nishtha, निष्क्रिय आत्म स्वरूपेण एव अवस्थानम इति यावत् पुरुषः न अश्नुते न प्राप्नोति. So, this action being so important, you cannot refrain from action and then say that it will lead me to Atmajnanam. It will not lead you to Atmajnanam because you are foregoing to the methods given by the Lord to convert this action into yoga for self-growth. You are not doing that. So the person does not become free just by refraining from action. No freedom takes place because the action has a very important role to reduce the papas gathered in ignorance, gathered by the expression of ragadveshas and gathered by hurting other people, etc., etc. All that has to go, and a certain kind of a growth has to take place for this thing to be, for this heart to be ready for the knowledge. So then, let one not think the opposite. Adi Shankara says, opposite means what? Opposite means, okay, कर्मणाम अनारंभात नैष्कर्म्यम पुरुषः न अश्नुते न अश्नुते. Not by the performance of actions does one gain liberation. Okay, that means by the performance of action one gains liberation. No. Karmanat anarambhat, karmanam anarambhat, naishkarmyam na ashnute iti vachanat. By this sentence, tad viparyayat tesham arambhat naishkarmyam ashnute iti gamyate. One can mistakenly think that, okay, by the performance of action alone, I can gain actionlessness. Kasmat punaha karanat karmanam anarambhat naishkarmyam na ashnuta iti. So, it would appear that the person attains this naishkarmyam by the opposite course, which is what? Keeping on acting. No, not at all. उच्यते कर्मारंभस्य एव नैष्कर्म्य उपायत्वात् नहि उपायम अंतरेण उपेय प्राप्तिः अस्ति. What is the reply? The performance of action is a means to attain freedom from action. Another paradox in Vedanta. The performance of action is a means to attain freedom from action. How? Because the performance of action, according to these rules that have been given, making karma into yoga, that itself gives me freedom from action because it leads me to be qualified for this knowledge. And once I'm qualified for this knowledge, what happens? I become qualified for this knowledge of moksha, and having qualified for the knowledge of moksha, I gain guru, I gain the knowledge. So uchyate here next one, karma yoga upayatvam cha naishkarma lakshanasya jnana yogasya shrutau iha cha pratipadanat. The Shruti as well as the Gita reiterates that Karma Yoga is a means to Jnana Yoga, which is freedom from action. This is what we have to understand. So that it's neither by non-performing of action one gets freedom, nor by performance of action. You have to know the role of action and the role of knowledge in order to get the freedom. More we'll see next time. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ॐ.